Where are the victims of Content Cop today? The return of iDubbbz' Content Cop has everyone in a frenzy to give their opinions on it. And if you take a retrospective look at the Content Cops over the years, at first glance it's understandable that it's widely regarded as a metaphorical graveyard for content creators. But one creator previously condemned by Content Cop is having some of their best years in terms of numbers, and another is creating content they love and still growing at respectable rates. So is Content Cop really the Terminator-like entity that ruins careers and should be avoided like the plague? I spent a few weeks analysing the path taken by YouTubers since being featured on the once fearsome Content Cop. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's waste no more time. Starting with Jinx Reload. Jinx was a reaction channel that was gaining popularity in 2015. At the end of that year, iDubbbz made a Content Cop on him, criticizing the lazy formula of his videos, often reacting to videos in their entirety with minimal input.
Basically, reaction channels can do anything they want and people are going to come to see, their personality or their reactions to things.
I really like the subtext there. They're coming to see the personality or the reactions to things. They're not coming to see the video at all. Pfft. No, that's not even part of the puzzle. If the video wasn't there at all, everyone would still tune in. That's why my personality channel is just fucking booming.
iDubbbz also pokes fun at his other lazy voiceovers and fake calling celebrity videos.
One of his more recent creative endeavors is called a parody interview. It's an abomination of him asking questions to song lyrics.
So word around town is that you the good girl going bad. How do you feel about people saying that about you?
It's so good being bad.
Now, this video definitely damaged his career, but not as much as you might think. The Content Cop was essentially a nail in the coffin. You see, iDubbbz wasn't the only person criticizing Jinx. Other YouTubers like Grade A Under A and Jax Films had more than a few words to say about him in their own videos. In fact, scratch that. Pretty much the whole internet disliked Jinx at this point in late 2015. I mean, how could you upload such low effort content and avoid backlash? In response to the Content Cop, Jinx went on a tirade on Twitter, saying that he wants to fight iDubbbz for what he saw as slandering his name. Keemstar would organize a boxing match for the two of them. However, Jinx never showed up at the time it was meant to go down. Following this, perhaps unexpectedly, he would actually switch up his content, diverting away from the reactions that he was heavily criticized for into comedy, skits, and just general lifestyle videos and vlogs. But with this change also came a stark downturn in views. Contrary to his belief, people weren't necessarily drawn in by his personality, and as it turns out, they were only interested in the videos that he was reacting to previously. Coupled this with the fact that he had now received a strike and couldn't upload videos longer than 15 minutes as a result. In May of 2016, he reassured the fans that he had left, that he would keep making content, as it is what he loved doing.
What's wrong with you? Man, I'm not popular on YouTube no more since I stopped doing reactions. So what? Do something else. Man, I tried, but that ain't what they want. I gotta do what they want. Man, that sounds like a slave. It's called YouTube. You gotta do what you wanna do. Yeah, but then I won't be famous. See, man, that's your problem. You doing it to be famous. You're supposed to be doing it because it's your passion. That's why we started in the first place.
However, a year after that, he would make a video explaining that he was at a loss when it came to ideas, and his decline was clearly tormenting his mental health.
I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on my YouTube. Like, I know everybody's saying YouTube is broken and all of that, and it's affecting my channel as well. Like, one week, all my videos are getting 100,000, 200,000 views. Then the next week, it's like 20,000, 12,000 views. It's just like, what the fuck? What the fuck just happened? Did everybody just fucking evaporate into the sky or something? So,
as a solution, he turned to making music on a new channel. He insisted it would be a worthwhile endeavor considering his current channel tapered off in growth and wasn't very profitable anymore. But he changed it up, he went back on his decision and started uploading reaction videos again. As you could probably imagine, they didn't perform very well. His reactions were still stale and lacked any substance or personality, something which iDubbbz was very critical of a year prior. Now we're well into 2017. iDubbbz just dropped a Content Cop on Ricegum, and in typical 2017 YouTube fashion, Ricegum made a diss track in response. Jinx saw this as an opportunity, using his self-proclaimed music prowess to make a diss track on iDubbbz. In the diss track, he heavily implies iDubbbz was a racist, and assumed a victim mentality, which is a common theme you might notice throughout the rest of Jinx's career.
right? Hold up, how this racist get more love than the guy that's doing shit up on the tube a bunch of other people does? Oh, cause he racist, motherfuckers face it, getting mad love for the same reason Trump does.
This is before he went full megalomaniac, citing himself as the inspiration of reactions which became more popular as time went on.
Number one, let me just put this out there, bitch, half of your YouTubers do reactions now. Half of your favorite YouTubers on YouTube do reactions, and that's because of me, nigga. I built that shit, nigga. I made that shit what it is, and now there are millions of people doing the exact same thing. I mean, you know what? They might have elevated a little bit, you know what I'm saying? They might have paused the video now, and they might throw a couple of things in there, but bitch, the basics, the foundation, nigga, that's me.
Fast forward a few months, Jinx now has a daughter, and he said he was leaving YouTube to focus on fatherhood. This sentiment only lasted a little while before he would change his mind yet again and start uploading to YouTube for a brief period. Ultimately, in August 2022, he professed his belief that he was blacklisted from YouTube, and no matter what he done, he couldn't seem to find any traction, a nod to the victim mentality I mentioned before.
But it didn't work. So as some of y'all know, my channel has been what people like to call blacklisted for quite some time now, you know, and I know a lot of people like to throw that word around, blacklisted and stuff like that, but I don't know any other way to honestly explain it, you know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of people are gonna try to clown me and be like, no, you fell off, you got this and that or whatever.
But he would go back on this once again and started uploading amateur podcast videos in 2023. As of today, he is active on his Instagram and TikTok accounts, which have a modest 200k followers each, just posting relatable short form videos commonly featuring his young daughter. A far cry from his nearly 2 million subscribers, but still respectable. That channel is also now deleted and you can't find it anywhere on YouTube. He still does post on YouTube, but only on his music channel, where he primarily posts skits and promotes his music career being sort of a mixed bag. I think it's also worth noting Jinx commonly featured his brother in his reaction videos, who is now a very big YouTuber called CJ So Cool, finding his own footing posting family videos. It's been nearly 10 years since Ian's original content cop, which in and of itself was damaging of Jinx's career, but I still think to a degree he definitely has himself to blame. Aside from his unoriginal content, his reception to iDubbbz's content cop was indecisive and amateur. Remember that iDubbbz wasn't the first person to talk about Jinx, but based on the absurd amount of views that his content cop got, he finally felt inclined to change up his style, but undoubtedly it was too little too late. His constant victim mentality just gave people critical of him more material to work with. His ego left little room for humility and ultimately rid his chances of being likable by most people. Now, the next content cop we have is quite the rabbit hole, so you're going to want to buckle up for this one. iDubbbz made a content cop on Keemstar in May of 2016, being highly critical of Keem's hypocrisy, sensitivity, and manipulative tendencies.
He's manipulative, cunty, hypocritical, makes horrible content, extremely unfunny, cringy. It's kind of like picking on Tommy NC, really. It's kind of like picking on an autistic kid.
Now, this is the first time of what would be an increasing trend of people, quote, surviving content cop. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. What was the immediate discourse of this 15 minutes of onslaught? This was one of the first content cops to really take off. So as a result, Keemstar immediately lost a couple hundred subscribers and began receiving immense public scrutiny for his actions. The initial wave of criticism was so immense that sponsorships allegedly reconsidered their partnership with him. So that was it. This was the start of Keemstar's inevitable downfall from the content cop effect, right? Well, not exactly. A few months after the video, when everything had subsided, people seemed to still go to Keemstar for their news source, as he was still pulling in hundreds of thousands to millions of views per video. You see, many of the things that iDubbbz criticized Keem for were already common knowledge, and his audience likely knew his character left a lot to be desired.
Everybody type in the chat, Alex is a stupid.
Over the years, Keemstar managed to slowly build back trust within the community, running a podcast, a highly successful Fortnite tournament, and collaborating with many big names in the industry. But don't be mistaken, his career from then on definitely wasn't smooth sailing. One of the more notable controversies came in 2019, and for lack of a better word, it was tragic.
A missing YouTube star has been found dead. Desmond Amofa, known as Etika to thousands of followers on social media, was pulled from the East River Tuesday morning, according to the NYPD. The 29-year-old was reported missing a week ago after posting a video that left fans and authorities fearing for his safety. His channel, which had more than 130,000 subscribers, was shut down after the post. Amofa gained fans through his vlogs on video games. Police have not released any other details about his death.
A lifeless body found in the East River in New York clearly belonging to a disturbed individual who unfortunately thought would be better if they didn't live anymore. Rewind a couple months prior, well-loved streamer Etika, clearly exhibiting symptoms of a man who desperately needs help.
Alright.
Why do you have that thing out?
Found himself on an interview with Keemstar on his notorious Drama Alert channel, expressing concerning views about life and existentialism, to say the least.
There's a fate. I need strong human beings that can get with the program, that aren't going to sit there twiddling their thumbs around. Keemstar, there are no coincidences in life. Think about that statement. There are no coincidences in my world.
Because
everything happens for a reason.
Because it's all planned. It's all been pre-designed.
Everything. It's all predestined, Keemstar.
But the
everything
scariest
This led Keemstar to make an ill-mannered comment.
world is a simulation and it's predestined and all that, is then there's no reason to live. Why not?
Why do you fear death?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's scary, because if you really think about it, then why live? Just jump off a cliff. If it's just a simulation, who cares?
Not only was this insensitive to say to anyone, but Etika, a man who clearly frequented manic states, which Keemstar constantly egged on and didn't take seriously, clearly using the spectacle of a guy in a mental health episode for personal gain, even doxing the mental institution he was staying at a couple months prior. The interview ended in a screaming match, and just 51 days later, Keemstar was quick to attempt to cover his tracks, but many on the internet still saw him as partially liable. While I'm not here to pin the death of Etika on anyone, I think Keemstar needs to reflect on his actions leading up to Etika's death. But even in light of this, many still tuned into his show. Keemstar seemed to be an indestructible entity at this point. Masses of people captivated by the need of their daily scoop of drama. So he remained in the spotlight, despite being persistently marred by controversy after controversy. He would actually come out on a podcast in 2020 and directly address the content cop 4 years prior. He simply stated that he found it funny and most of Ian's points were true and he held his hands up for them.
Look, the iDubbbz Keemstar thing is funny, right? You know, there's a bunch of clips of me being a complete asshole, right? And it's part of the gimmick, right? That's part of who I am online. So it's a good video. I don't see anything wrong with it.
However, with that being said, he claimed that iDubbbz habitually misunderstood him, which led to a large portion of the content cop.
The content cop actually happened from a misunderstanding. Like, I had this reputation of ruining careers, right? And it became a meme.
The year is now 2025. Keemstar is still extremely active on Twitter, Snapchat, and a little bit on Instagram, but for the last 2 years, his YouTube account has been barren, after he announced in late 2021 that there would be a halt in Drama Alert content because there simply wasn't enough drama to cover anymore. The reaction to this was a bit of a mixed bag, but it becomes irrelevant when you realize that people are still for the most part tuning into his Twitter, reminiscent of the indestructible entity status I mentioned that Keemstar seems to have. This next one is a harrowing story of drawn-out legal battles, discrimination, and egomania. So hold on tight because we're going to be going deep here. The Fine Bros came under fire in 2016 for trying to trademark and strike anybody who used the word react in and around their content.
We are excited to announce React World, which is a first-of-its-kind program that allows people and companies to license all our popular shows online so that anyone, even you watching right now, can create your own versions in a fully legal way and be part of a new and exciting global community.
In entertainment industry terms, when you create a version of a show based on someone else's format, this is called licensing, which many TV shows have done over time.
They claimed that they created the reaction ecosystem on YouTube, very much akin to a previous entry on this video.
Part of why we believe this initiative is important is due to witnessing many creators, ourselves included, having their shows and formats blatantly stolen by companies and people. When you notice someone ripping someone's format off, don't stand for it.
That incredible format where you bring people in who have opinions and also don't have opinions, sit them in a chair and say,
So do you know what band that was? So do you know who that is? So do you know who this is? So what did we show you here overall?
what do you think of the video? pretty good, right?
They had a very lucrative format, recruiting people of certain age and work demographics to react to certain content and just give their opinion on it. Everyone was okay with their content as well. Unlike Jinx, they were only using the highlights of the original creators' videos, and most of the time, the reactions were at least somewhat insightful. Plus, the appearance of influential guests made it into an even bigger spectacle. So when they made an announcement stating that they would be entitled to a cut of the revenue from anyone using their channel format and implored their fans to condemn anyone doing reaction videos, it didn't sit well with people. It was fun, entertaining, and lighthearted, but it wasn't original. In the immediate discourse of iDubbbz's Content Cop and other critiques of the two brothers, they lost 500,000 subs as a result, took down a whole bunch of videos claiming copyright infringement, even taking down a video that had been created before they started the same format. Bearing in mind, this all happened in the space of a week. They slammed Ellen DeGeneres for getting kids to react to old technology. After the criticism got too much from fans and creators alike, the brothers finally decided to give way and begin to backtrack. They released all their content ID claims, seized World React operations, and rescinded the absurd React trademark. Subsequently, an apology was released, but not a good one.
First and foremost, we're sorry for confusing people by using terminology like our React format. We were never trying to say that every video where someone reacts to something else is something we would try to control. When we referenced licensing the React format, we only meant our specific series, not the overall genre of reaction videos. We do not own the genre.
And we're creators at heart, and those who know us personally know how passionate we are about trying to help creators, and React World is meant to be an extension of that, with us simply providing resources and tools to anyone who wants to go down this path of creating one of our series with direct support from us.
They seemed emotional and agitated in explaining that they didn't intend on trademarking all reaction videos and just their specific format. This apology boiled down to being self-serving and terrible, and everybody knew that. Coupled with their clear submission to the backlash and anger that their greedy plan was foiled, they continued to lose subscribers, and the controversy irreversibly damaged their reputation. Fast forward a few years into 2020, the Fine Bros had gotten themselves into the Black Lives Matter politics that were rampant at the time, releasing a note stating that they would be having a segment in which Black Americans tell their story of being black in America. Right message, wrong messenger. A week after the note was released, a video resurfaced from 2009 in which one of the brothers were doing blackface, and using this as an opportunity, black creators from within the company stated that they had faced racial discrimination from upper management while working at the Fine Bros Entertainment, with one of these workers actually coming onto YouTube to share their story.
Because they hadn't acknowledged or publicly addressed or apologized for these videos up until last night, I felt that I was used for performative activism, and that does not sit right with me.
Former employees were told at times that having a reactor with lighter skin on the left of the thumbnail would allow viewers to, quote, see them first as it appeals to the fans. 6 other sources would publicly state on Twitter that something similar had happened to them. A study conducted by an insider saw 31% of thumbnails out of over 1,000 having 2 white reactors, with just 0.3 having 2 black reactors. In light of this, the Fine Bros would release an apology, again useless and self-serving. Throughout 2020, they had seen a stark decline in viewership as more entertaining and less greedy reactors took the spotlight. They attempted a rebrand from Fine Bros Entertainment to React in 2021, but this didn't help the decline in views, ultimately selling the company to Electric Monster for an undisclosed price. And ever since, the brothers have been inactive on social media. The next content cop we have is one of genuine intrigue and genuine mystery. The whereabouts of this YouTuber has confused the masses. We're of course talking about none other than LeafyIsHere. In the content cop of LeafyIsHere, iDubbbz was highly critical of Leafy's tendencies to bully people regarding their appearance, despite being insecure of his own appearance.
I don't care. Make fun of them. I think my only stipulation with the bullying is that you also have to not be a pussy. You see, because if you're a pussy and you're hiding your putrid, malformed chin behind your hand, your sleeve, or your microphone, you're showing people that you are extremely self-conscious. You're showing people that you're a pussy, and that takes a lot of the oomph out of your bullying.
He also criticizes Leafy for other basic YouTube sins, like stretching videos out by repeating things and having long title screens. Now Leafy would make a response video, which, let's just say, left a lot to be desired. He'd make some decent points, like how a title screen a few seconds longer isn't exactly going to ruin our day.
For having a music clip transition for 3 fucking seconds too long.
But he fails to either acknowledge or successfully refute the core points made by iDubbbz. It's clear and obvious he didn't spend much time on this response, which would be made more evident when iDubbbz dropped his content deputy not long after, essentially branded as a response to Leafy's response. Now this video was more of a light-hearted one, less focused on critiquing Leafy as a person, but more making fun of his chin and lousy response. iDubbbz was not the only person to criticize Leafy at this time, a common theme you may have noticed with these content cops, more being a nail in the coffin segment rather than a flagship call-out. The toxic nature of Leafy's videos almost made it guaranteed he'd at one point be the center of ridicule, something which ironically mirrored his own behavior. Leafy continued on his path of what was sometimes referred to as cyberbullying into 2017, but suddenly stopped uploading to YouTube in December of that year. His final upload before his hiatus mentioned that he lost motivation to upload to YouTube, explaining his inconsistencies in the weeks leading up to the video. His Twitter account also got hacked, meaning he was locked out and didn't exactly have inspiration for his content now. Many also speculated that he had accumulated comfortable wealth from his heyday and would just be happy sitting back and enjoying the fruits of his past labor. His next sighting wouldn't come until October of 2018, when he accepted the opportunity to go on an interview with none other than Keemstar and perhaps explain his hiatus. He said that he couldn't stand the complexity of complying with the YouTube ecosystem anymore. Constant demonetization and copyright claims cited as examples for his reason for hating the YouTube landscape.
For you, you just left.
Well, where do I even begin with that? I think one of the main reasons was YouTube itself was just becoming just worse and worse over time. The monetization yellow things was frustrating to deal with, but it was more than that. It was just, there's so many different changes that was so frustrating to deal with. There was the copyright issues.
After this interview, we get into the long and convoluted history of his return attempts and bans, so hold on tight, because I'm going to break this all down for you. But before we get into that, we have a bit of a full circle moment. In 2020, iDubbbz was under fire for allowing his partner to upload lewd content to her OnlyFans account. This is regarded by many as the first time iDubbbz actually had any controversy, or at least definitely his first that the majority of people were not on his side. iDubbbz would release a video explaining his take and the OnlyFans and why he was cool with it. The points in this video were pretty bad, to be honest, and guess who came out of the woodworks to clown him?
For those of you who are unaware of the drama I recently brought upon myself, I'll fill you in. My girlfriend started an OnlyFans account, which is a website where you can upload amateur porn. Anything from double penetration all the way over to lewd cosplay and everything in between. And I think all of it is cool. Yeah, I know.
Dude, you're a fucking cuck.
But perhaps this backfired, because Leafy would get banned from YouTube not long after for, quote, attempting to harass, bully, or threaten. Contrary to what you might believe, it was speculated that it wasn't the iDubbbz thing that got him banned, and actually his separate feuds with H3H3 and Pokimane. We could get into those, but we'd be here all day if we were to discuss every single feud that this guy has had. And this video is about where Leafy is now, so let's start working through the bans. After his ban in 2020, he made a separate channel called LeafyIsHere, which was also banned 2 days later for ban evasion. He explained he'd be moving to Twitch, before getting banned on that too, in September of 2020 after building a respectable 300,000 followers. Oh, and this ban was permanent, by the way, for engaging in hateful conduct and threats of violence against a person or group of people.
Right, but if there's any streamers watching this, maybe that Destiny dude, take this guy out, do us all a favor. You actually have something to gain from this guy.
Back on YouTube, his second channel was terminated. He attempted a comeback in 2021 on a channel called Lucky, posting his first video on Ethan Klein, which was also terminated. Twitter wanted in on the action, so in 2021, his Twitter account was suspended. His second account was still up, but he didn't have access to it for a while. Until he did. And he got banned on that too. Which, by the way, was for asking a question that was seen as anti-Semitic. At this point, Leafy was left with nothing but his Instagram. And in 2023, that got banned too. Nah, I'm joking. In 2023, he began to stream on Rumble. Definitely looking like age is catching up to him, understandably so, although he hasn't streamed on Rumble in over a year. As of right now, the only platform that he's active on is Instagram. His most recent activity being January of this year, announcing that he got somebody pregnant. Whether this is true or troll remains a mystery. His other posts on Instagram over the years are just random posts about his life, so not much interesting going on there. Now, these last two victims arguably had the most happy endings, so let's take a deep dive in chronological order and start with Tana Mongeau. iDubbbz actually went to see Tana at one of her events, wrapping his arm around her, posing for a picture, subsequently asking her to say the N-word. Now, iDubbbz actually said the word, but this was to point out the irony of the way he predicted she was gonna react, Tana being someone who has used the N-word before in a way worse context.
Say.
She also called out iDubbbz for using the word a few months before the content cop. iDubbbz was kicked out of the event, and Tana was evidently shaken up by this, taking to YouTube to heavily embellish what actually took place, a reoccurring pattern in all her storytime videos, something which iDubbbz pointed out in his content cop.
If you boil down any of her videos, you realize, holy shit, I've gotten in arguments before. Someone has lied about me before. I've had a horrible experience with customer service representatives as well.
He also mentioned her offensive use of the N-word in the past and a terrible defense when called out a few years later. Initially, the discourse from the video was obviously negative for Tana and only made things worse by how she responded, which was very emotional and hypocritical. It lost Tana quite a few subscribers at first, but then she just continued growing, such as it typically goes. However, this definitely wouldn't be the last time she was caught up in controversy. In summer of 2018, Tana would host a fan event featuring a bunch of different YouTubers that would eventually get cancelled because of safety concerns. The event organisers were largely criticised due to a lack of space and preparation. A large number of people, many believing that entry would be free and open to all, flocked to the Marriott Hotel in hopes of meeting a creator or attending the event. The crowd spilled over into the hotel's parking lot as the Marriott's capacity was not adequate for a convention with over 1,000 attendees. No water was provided and many people suffered serious sunburn as a result. The event was cancelled early the next day. Numerous sources, along with various online videos and documentaries about the event, were released, sharing attendees' experiences. The Garden Grove Police Department, located in a nearby town, issued a statement regarding the significant crowd size. In response to all the criticism, Tana released a statement on Twitter stating, "My heart is shattered and I'm trying to pick up the pieces. The sunburns, the money and the time spent, people waiting outside, everything is so effed up and I want to talk about it." The event organizers started to issue refunds, and in wake of the event, some sympathized with Tana, saw her as just a 19-year-old trying to connect with her fans and was let down by event organizers. Others saw her as a villain who carelessly put together a half-assed event for a quick payday. Either which side of the fence you're on, it definitely was bad press for Tana. If I had to sum up her career since then in just one word, I'd describe it as chaotic. She dated Bella Thorne, Jake Paul, also getting married to Jake Paul, although it was obviously fake, had a semi-successful music career, starred in her very own reality MTV series, launched a podcast along Hunter Monero and Brooke Schofield, which became highly successful and has had multiple live performances. iDubbbz's content cop didn't really have an effect on her career in the long run, and separately in May 2023, iDubbbz actually directly apologized to Tana for his past actions, another ironic full circle moment. Today, Tana stays out of drama, at least compared to her past self, still extremely active on her main channel while running one of the world's most successful podcasts. The final victim, with probably the most wholesome fate, is Ricegum. iDubbbz made a content cop on Ricegum in October of 2017, misleadingly titling it Content Cop Jake Paul, so as to not give Ricegum the satisfaction of taking credit for the viewership success. In the content cop, he heavily denounces Ricegum's tendency to flex obnoxiously, his untrustworthiness around women, and his musical ability.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with having expensive taste. The problem arises when you're obnoxious about it.
$800 off-white
$2,000.
$450. $1,000.
Go for like $6,000.
Guess how much it is.
How much do you think this jacket was worth?
$1,600. It's time to be more positive. Let's go out and spread positivity. Guys, it's all about that positivity.
Ironically, iDubbbz finished the video with a diss track featuring Boyner Band and PewDiePie, which was another Easter egg of irony, much like the chin thing with Leafy and the N-word with Tana. The diss track was a major success, pulling in over 86 million views by January of 2023, and the baton was now handed over to Ricegum to respond. And to be fair, he did. Probably because he was bleeding out in subscribers and felt like the content cop had a genuine negative effect on his career. Gonna spoil it for you right now. The response wasn't good.
But did it feel good though? How long did the rape last for?
Guys, I literally cringe every time I watch this. But the thing is, this is kind of old news. I remember I was getting roasted for this a year ago.
I hate some people because they do stuff like this.
Because he laughed at a rape victim.
Exposing Ricegum for mocking a girl who was raped.
Him making fun of the rape victim on stream. But just in case you don't, here's the clip.
This isn't something new, and I get why other YouTubers, may be offended because they might, really take this rape thing seriously.
This was the crux of many of his points, devaluing them because they happened a long time ago, something that A, isn't accepted by everyone, and B, including himself, because he attempted to discredit iDubbbz by showing his old offensive tweets. iDubbbz responded to his response and effectively dismantled all of Ricegum's weak points. Ricegum also made a reply diss track, which... yeah. Now, as I mentioned before, Ricegum was definitely losing subscribers due to this, and it did genuinely affect his career. However, he would continue posting his old normal content. It wasn't like iDubbbz shed a new light on Ricegum's personality, just more people knew about it now, meaning that his dislike ratio would be poor for quite some time. Over the next few years, Ricegum was still getting into petty beefs, and it seemed even he knew he needed to mature up a little bit. He got a new girlfriend, Elle Marie, and seemed to be deeply in love. He stopped uploading to his channel in 2021, but remained semi-active on his Instagram. It would later become apparent that she was pregnant, but sadly, the baby was a stillbirth, as he announced on 27th of April 2023, being the first time he uploaded in 2 years. In 2023, he made an unexpected comeback to streaming, in which he streamed on the platform Rumble. His content consisted of interactions with fans and just live updates and reacting to funny videos. Thousands of people tuned into these streams, and it seems like he found his passion again. Although, at this time of recording, he hasn't streamed in over 11 months. His girlfriend gave birth to a baby boy in September of 2024, and he seems to just be living his best life as per him and his girlfriend's Instagram. Hence why I said it's probably the most wholesome fate of any person who has had a content cop made on them. So that begs the question, does iDubbbz's content cop ruin influencer careers and void them of any future success? Well, it depends on what your definition of success is. Creators like Jinx, Ricegum and Leafy's numbers were definitely derailed by content cop, but they seem to be happy and living their best life, which is a form of success in my opinion. As for the H3H3 content cop, that's a story for another day.